An old African man steps into a luxury car showroom. His clothes are simple and muddy, showing he has come straight from work. He looks around, his eyes full of hope and excitement. He takes slow steps toward the shiny cars, admiring them like they are treasures. Behind the desk, the showroom manager notices him. The manager frowns and whispers to a colleague, making a mocking comment about the man's appearance. Customers in the showroom glance at him with curious eyes, some even smirking. The manager stands up, his face filled with judgment. He doesn't know who this man is. He doesn't know why he is here, and he doesn't know how much he will regret his behavior. The old African man is a farmer. Every day he works hard under the hot sun. His hands are rough from years of labor, planting and harvesting crops. Today, he started his day early. He spent hours plowing the field, making sure everything was perfect. Sweat dripped from his forehead as he worked tirelessly. But today was different. It was his daughter's birthday. She had always dreamed of having a car. He wanted to make her dream come true. He saved money for years, sacrificing his own needs. After finishing his work in the field, he washed up quickly. He didn't have time to change into fresh clothes. He grabbed the money he had saved and rushed to the car showroom, his heart filled with excitement and love for his daughter. The old African man steps into the car showroom. The floor shines and the air smells fresh, like new leather and polish. He looks around in awe at the sparkling cars lined up. Each car looks like a masterpiece to him. His excitement grows as he imagines his daughter's face when she sees her surprise. He approaches the front desk with a polite smile. The manager, a tall man in a suit, looks at him from head to toe. The manager's face twists into a frown, showing his disapproval. The farmer doesn't notice the judgmental look and asks, "How much is this car?" pointing to a sleek red sedan. Instead of answering, the manager snickers. "Can you even afford it?" he asks, his voice dripping with sarcasm. The farmer stays calm and replies, "Yes, I have the money." He reaches into his pocket, showing a bundle of cash wrapped neatly. The manager steps back, his eyebrows raised. "Where did you get that money?" he demands, his tone suddenly sharp. "Did you steal it?" The farmer is taken aback by the accusation. He calmly explains, "This is my hard-earned money. I saved it for years." The manager doesn't believe him. He waves his hand dismissively and says, "This place is not for people like you. Go find a cheaper car somewhere else." Other customers and staff begin to stare. Some look shocked while others chuckle quietly. The farmer insists, his voice firm but respectful. "I am here to buy a car for my daughter. Please let me speak to someone else." But the manager refuses. He calls for security, pointing at the farmer. "Get him out of here before he causes trouble," the manager orders. The farmer doesn't argue. Instead, he pulls out his phone and makes a quick call. His voice is calm but firm. "I need you to come here," he says to the person on the other end. The manager smirks, mocking him. "Who are you calling? Your imaginary lawyer?" He sneers. The farmer puts his phone away and waits silently. The manager shakes his head, muttering to himself. "These people never learn," he says under his breath, loud enough for the farmer to hear. The room grows tense as everyone watches what will happen next. A few minutes pass, and the farmer remains calm, standing near the door. He doesn't argue or raise his voice. The manager continues to watch him, shaking his head and muttering under his breath. "Wasting my time," he says. The other customers begin to lose interest, assuming the farmer will leave soon. But then, The sound of a powerful engine echoes outside the showroom. A sleek, black SUV pulls up to the entrance. The car looks expensive, with tinted windows and a government emblem on the front. The doors open, and a tall, well-dressed man steps out. His shoes shine, and his uniform is crisp. He looks serious and professional. It's the farmer's son, a senior police officer. The officer walks into the showroom with purpose. His presence commands attention. The staff stop what they're doing, and the room falls silent. The manager's smirk disappears. He looks confused, then nervous, as the officer heads straight for the farmer. "Dad, are you okay?" the officer asks, his voice calm but firm. The farmer nods and says, "I'm fine, but I wanted to buy a car for your sister." "This man wouldn't help me." He gestures toward the manager. The manager's face turns pale. He stammers, trying to explain. I didn't know. I thought." The officer cuts him off. "You thought what?" "That my father wasn't good enough because of how he looks." His tone is sharp, and the manager starts sweating. The officer turns to the staff and asks for the showroom's manager. When told it's the same man, he glares at him. "You owe my father an apology," the officer demands. The manager hesitates, but the officer's stern gaze leaves him no choice. The manager awkwardly steps forward. He looks at the farmer and says, "I'm sorry, sir. I misunderstood." The apology is weak, and it's clear he doesn't mean it. The officer doesn't let it slide. "A real apology," he insists. The manager, now trembling, repeats, "I'm truly sorry, sir. I was wrong." The customers watch in silence, some feeling awkward, others pleased to see justice being served. The officer asks his father, "Do you still want to buy the car here?" The farmer nods. "Yes, I just want to make my daughter happy." The officer turns to the manager, his face serious. "You will personally help my father choose a car, and this time treat him with respect," he says firmly. The manager nods quickly, too scared to argue. He gestures for the farmer to follow him, his previous arrogance replaced with nervousness. As they walk toward the row of cars, the farmer's son stays close, watching the manager's every move. The farmer points to a sleek red car and says, "This one is perfect. My daughter will love it." The manager forces a smile and begins explaining the features of the car. His voice shakes, and he avoids eye contact with the officer. The farmer listens carefully, nodding as the manager speaks. When it's time to discuss payment, the farmer pulls out his bundle of cash again. He places it on the counter, counting the exact amount. Everyone in the showroom watches in shock. Some whisper to each other, "He really had the money all along." The officer steps forward, his voice calm but powerful. "You assumed my father was a thief because of his clothes. You judged him without knowing his story," he says, looking directly at the manager. "Let me tell you something. My father is a proud farmer. He works harder in a day than most people do in a week. And today, he's here to buy a car for his daughter, who means the world to him." The manager's face turns red with embarrassment. He stammers, I didn't mean to," but the officer interrupts. "You didn't mean to what? Disrespect him, accuse him of stealing, or humiliate him in front of everyone." The room grows quiet, the weight of the officer's words sinking in. The farmer finally speaks, his voice gentle but firm. "I came here to buy a car, not to be judged. I hope you learn to treat people better no matter how they look." His words are simple, but they carry a powerful message. The manager bows his head, too ashamed to respond. The farmer completes the purchase and receives the keys to the car. He turns to his son and smiles. "Thank you for standing up for me," he says softly. The officer nods, replying, "You've always stood up for us. It's the least I can do." As the farmer drives away in his new car, the customers and staff are left reflecting on what just happened. The manager, still standing awkwardly, realizes he has learned a valuable lesson about respect and humility. As the farmer drives away, the officer stays behind. He turns to the manager, his expression stern. "Your actions today were unacceptable," the officer says firmly. The manager lowers his head, unable to meet the officer's eyes. "I'm sorry," the manager mumbles, but the officer isn't done. "You didn't just insult my father," the officer continues. "You insulted every hardworking person who walks in here. You judged him because of his appearance, and that's not just wrong, it's shameful." The staff and customers stand silently, watching the exchange. Some nod in agreement while others look uncomfortable. The officer pulls out a notebook and writes something down. "I'm filing a formal report against this showroom," he announces. "This is discrimination, and it won't go unnoticed." The manager's eyes widen in fear. "Please, sir, don't do that," he pleads. "I promise it won't happen again." The officer isn't convinced. "It's not just about promises," he says. "It's about changing your behavior, treating every customer with respect, no matter who they are or what they look like." The manager nods quickly, desperate to fix the situation. "I'll do better," he says. "I'll make sure it never happens again." The officer turns to the other staff members. "You all saw what happened today," he says. "Make sure you hold each other accountable. If I hear about anything like this again, I'll make sure this place is shut down." His words are firm, leaving no room for doubt. As the officer leaves the showroom, the manager collapses into his chair, wiping sweat from his forehead. The other staff members whisper among themselves, some expressing regret, others relieved they weren't directly involved. Customers begin to leave, many shaking their heads at what they witnessed. Outside, the officer catches up with his father, who is waiting in the parking lot. The farmer looks at his son and says, "You didn't have to do all that." The officer replies, "I couldn't stand by and let them treat you that way." People need to learn that respect is for everyone. Back inside, the manager sits alone at his desk, replaying the events in his mind. He feels the weight of his actions and the shame of being called out in front of everyone. For the first time, he realizes how unfair and hurtful his behavior was. He knows he needs to change, not just for his job, but for himself. The farmer arrives home in his new car. The sun is setting, painting the sky with orange and pink hues. As he steps out of the car, his daughter rushes out of the house. Her face lights up when she sees the car parked in the driveway. "Dad, is this—" she asks, her voice filled with disbelief. The farmer smiles and nods. "Happy birthday, my little girl," he says softly. Tears fill her eyes as she runs to hug him tightly. "I can't believe you did this," she whispers. The farmer strokes her hair and says, "You've worked so hard in school and made me so proud. You deserve this." The son arrives shortly after, parking his SUV beside the new car. He watches the emotional moment between his father and sister, a proud smile on his face. "Dad, you're amazing," he says, walking over to join them. The daughter turns to her brother and asks, "Did you know about this?" He laughs and replies, "I only found out today." But Dad wanted to keep it a surprise. The family spends the evening together, celebrating the daughter's birthday. They laugh, share stories, and enjoy a simple but meaningful meal. The father feels a deep sense of satisfaction, knowing his hard work has given his daughter R a moment she'll never forget. Later that night, The farmer sits outside looking up at the stars. His son joins him, sitting quietly by his side. "You didn't have to stand up for me like that," the farmer says, breaking the silence. The son looks at him and replies, "I did it because you've always stood up for us. You taught me to never let anyone make me feel small." "I just returned the favor." The farmer nods, his eyes glistening with emotion. "I'm proud of the man you've become," he says. The son smiles and places a hand on his father's shoulder. "And I'm proud to be your son," he replies. Meanwhile, back at the showroom, the manager sits alone in his office. The events of the day replay in his mind. For the first time, he feels regret, not just for being caught, but for how he treated someone who deserved respect. He decides to reflect on his actions and promises himself to change. The video ends with the farmer's family sitting together, sharing a moment of love and gratitude. It's a reminder that hard work, respect, and family can overcome even the toughest challenges. The story of the farmer reminds us of a powerful truth. Never judge a person by their appearance. Behind every face, there is a story. Behind every simple outfit, there is a life filled with struggles, hard work, and love. Respect costs nothing, but it can mean everything to someone who has been looked down upon. We live in a world where people often rush to make assumptions. This story is a reminder to pause, reflect, and treat everyone with kindness. The farmer didn't need fancy clothes to prove his worth. His actions, his love for his family, and his determination spoke louder than any outfit ever could. It's also a lesson for those who misuse their power or privilege. The manager learned the hard way that treating people poorly can have consequences. We should all strive to create a world where respect is given freely and equally, no matter who stands before us. As you finish watching this video, ask yourself, how do you treat others, especially those who seem different from you? The smallest act of kindness can make a big difference. Let's choose to be better, kinder, and more understanding every day. Thank you for watching this story. If it inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And write a comment from where you watch. Together, we can spread messages that make the world a better place. See you in the next video.